What's going on, everyone? So, we all know about the San Antonio Spurs deal. The Lakers and the Spurs have been linked since the offseason when they were trying to be the third team in a potential Kyrie Irving deal, right? They were the ones that were willing to take on Russell Westbrook because they were deciding to tank, be a rebuilding team. They were going to take on Russ, buy him out, and the hopes to try to just get a free first round draft pick, right? Popovich has even said that he believes the Lakers picks might be the best in the league right now. And so there's a lot of talks, even to this day, about the Spurs potentially working out a deal with the Lakers. Now, obviously, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle because you're going against Greg Popovich, who he's been very outspoken about the Lakers and never wanted to do deals and stuff like that. But also, Pop and the Spurs are in a very different position. You know, when you say something when you're a dynasty and you're winning championships and, you know, you're going back and forth against the Lakers and the Lakers are your biggest rival in competition, it's one thing to say, you know, some of the things that he has said in the past. But now you're a rebuilding team. You're trying to recoup as much assets and young talent as possible. You're hoping that you go and land Victor Wembanyama, and now you can kind of like use him as like your stepping stone to like build for the future. All that stuff. It's just a very different scenario, right? But there's a lot of questions of like how much is San Antonio willing to cave? Like, would they give up, you know, a couple pieces to go and take on Russell Westbrook and maybe one first, right? Like, would they do Jakob Poeltl, Josh Richardson, and Doug McDermott for Russ and one first and maybe a couple seconds, right? Because in reality, the only one that's really worth a first is Jakob Poeltl, just because of the type of center that he is. He's really good. Josh Richardson is worth a couple seconds, if not just 1 second. Same thing with Doug McDermott, right? He's a guy, they're not huge needle movers. They're solid rotation guys. They're solid. They're definitely NBA level guys. They could definitely benefit and be starters on the right teams. Like, you know, Josh Richardson specifically, he kind of reminds me of like a KCP, and KCP was great. I mean, KCP was our third leading scorer when we won the championship, right? 3-and-D shooting guard. Josh Richardson kind of fits that mold. He's got good length, good size for that position, and you know he could be a real asset for the Lakers. You know, Jakob Poeltl, Lakers clearly are in the market for a big, but he's generating some buzz right now, and so he might be a little difficult. But if you were to trade Russ, well, then you don't even have to take Jakob Poeltl. You could just do Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, and then, you know, try to get that trade exception and now use that to maybe then go pivot and get another piece. Maybe get Bojan Bogdanovic or something in that deal and use the trade exception and throw the other first. And now you kind of work together multiple deals. That is a real possibility. The Lakers could also maybe stack some contracts because Russell Westbrook has been great for the Lakers. So maybe they don't want to move Russ, especially if he's a net negative value to the Spurs, which, you know, he kind of would be. Although there are reports that the Spurs may be interested in Russell Westbrook because they are below the cap threshold. Now, granted, that ends up just getting spread out to the players. But if you're going to have to pay that money regardless, why not get an asset in the process? Why not get a first round deal? So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with a potential trade for the San Antonio Spurs. But one trade that is really starting to gain some traction with the Spurs and the Lakers, or at least it seems like, is the Lakers, instead of doing the big home run deal to go get three of these guys, or, you know, Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, that they may just go and get Josh Richardson. So there are talks, based on some reports, that the Lakers and Spurs have engaged in a Patrick Beverley for Josh Richardson, and that the Lakers would give up like a second round pick. So it'd be Patrick Beverley and a second for Josh Richardson. Now, Josh Richardson cannot be worse than Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley has had a very rough year. He's had moments, and he has picked it up as of late. He's been much better lately, but defensively, he's not what he once was. Again, he's had moments for sure, but, you know, he's undersized, and all we kind of have are these just undersized guards. And not that Josh Richardson is, you know, 6'8" or anything, but for a shooting guard, he's got good size. He's 6'6", he's 29 years old, so he's still young. You have his bird right, so he could be a piece for the long haul. You know, if you could go get like say you take Patrick Beverley, go get a Josh Richardson for a second, right? Then you take Kendrick Nunn, go get a Cam Reddish, right? for, 2 seconds, or maybe you could even do a second. Like, that would be even better, right? And now you got those two guys. And then maybe you could go and do another deal. Maybe take like Lonnie Walker if you wanted to. Like Lonnie Walker, because you're like, maybe we're going to lose Lonnie Walker. We got Josh Richardson now, which he's going to play that role. It's about getting just a couple pieces, right? The Lakers have shown time and time again that they're a team that seems to be right there, right? They're a team that seems like, hey, we're in the ballpark of being like a very good team. And so you get a guy like Josh Richardson, who he's kind of the odd man out for the Spurs. He's been coming off the bench. He's only started 3 games this season, but he's played in 33. He's shooting 35% from 3 this season, which would actually be very welcomed and very good for the Lakers. But he's a guy that for multiple seasons has had 40-point 3-point seasons on like 4 or 5 attempts, right? I mean, so in with the Celtics in 2021 and 2022, he shot just under 40% at 39.7, and then that same year with the Spurs shot 44%, almost 45%, and then the year earlier than that, he shot 41.5%. So he's a guy that for his career shoots around 36.5%, 37%, right? That would be more than welcome. If he could shoot 36% from 3, that is perfect, right? Because we need somebody like that. Be a solid defender, 3-and-D guy. He could really use a change of scenery, get a more prominent role with the Lakers as opposed to the Spurs. I wouldn't be against it, right? Now, obviously, if that happened, then you're probably not getting Bojan Bogdanovic. And I would, if I'm being honest, probably like Bojan Bogdanovic more. I just think he is such a natural fit next to LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook. I think you bite the bullet and you give up the first for him. But if you wanted to, you could stack other contracts. So you could go still, like, let's say you give Patrick Beverley for Josh Richardson and you give up a second. Cool. Well, then you could take Lonnie Walker and Kendrick Nunn and then throw in like a Damian Jones or something. And then there's basically the salary you need with the 125% rule to go get Bojan Bogdanovic. Like Josh Richardson and Bojan Bogdanovic, now we're talking, right? Because now you have both of those guys for the next several seasons. They're both veteran guys that have been in the playoffs, that have hit shots, that have played well, right? So now you have, like, you could go Dennis Schroeder, Josh Richardson, Bojan Bogdanovic, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. That's a much better starting 5 than we have right now, right? You got 3-point shooting, you got floor spacing, you got Josh Richardson who shoot, 35, 36% this season. Hopefully with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, if that can push back to 40%, now you got 2 40% 3-point shooters. And on top of that, you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Dennis Schroeder. Perfect. And you unloaded all of your guards. Now your guard rotation is basically your rotation is basically set. Like I said, you have Dennis Schroeder, Josh Richardson, Bojan Bogdanovic, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. That's basically your starting 5, with Richardson being on the Lakers, and then you have a bench 5 of like Russell Westbrook, Austin Reeves, Troy Brown, Winning Gabriel, and Thomas Bryant. Perfect, right? Now you got a solid 5 man bench rotation that can spread the floor, do multiple things. Like, that would be good, right? So now you got a bunch of pieces that could really help with this team. So I think if you get Josh Richardson for a second, I think you do it, right? Like I think that is a really good pickup for a second round pick. Again, you'd have his bird rights, so you could keep him for the long haul, which the Lakers really need to do. And yes, it would mess up some of your cap situation. But look, the Lakers only have $30 million in cap space. So them having $30 million in cap space is not enough to get a full roster. You're not going to be able to build and fill out basically 10 guys on $30 million. You're going to go and you're going to give like one guy probably $20 million, and then there's pretty much all your cap space. Maybe you get a mid-tier guy. Maybe you could sign a Josh Richardson, for $10 million instead of 12. Okay, cool. Or you could just get this guy sign him for that same $10 million. You got his bird rights. You go over the cap, maybe keep Russ. And then, if you could do another trade or two, the Lakers need to get between Anthony Davis and LeBron James. If they can get another like 2 or 3 guys that you have that are starting level talent for the next several seasons, that's what they need to do, right? And then now you have at least your starting 5. If you can keep Russ, now you have your 6 man. So you're basically 6 players deep. Now you're just trying to find that quality player or 2 or 3 that can come in, for the mid-level, taxpayer mid-level, whatever they have based on the cap situation, depending on how it works out, what they end up doing. But if you have your mid-level, you have your biannual, boom, you get those 2 pieces. If you can find 2 quality, rotation guys with that, and then maybe you take a flyer on a couple, vet minimum guys, maybe one of these young guys, kind of see Lonnie Walker get a deal, see Malik Monk get a deal and go, oh, I want to do the same thing. They go to Lakers, and now you can round out your roster for the future, and maybe you can contend for multiple seasons. That would be ideal, right? That would be your hope, that the Lakers go and get Josh Richardson for a second. Even if you wanted to, you could also, again, just maybe stack rosters, right? Stack players, I mean. Because he's making $12 million, so you only need to get to about $10 million to make it work. So you could do like, if you wanted to, you could do like, because again, Lonnie Walker, maybe I don't think San Antonio would want him back because they just let him go. So that might make things difficult, but maybe the Knicks do, right? So you could do Lonnie Walker for maybe Cam Reddish. That could be something interesting. Or again, use Lonnie Walker in like a Boyan deal. But you could also, if you wanted to, do something along the lines of, let's say, like Kendrick Nunn, Damian Jones, and like JTA, right? Those 3 is roughly enough off the top of my head to get you Josh Richardson. Give up a second. They're just going to waive all those guys, get rid of them. So give up a second. Maybe they keep Damian Jones because they could use a big, especially if they unload Jakob Poeltl. So maybe they keep Damian Jones because he's young and kind of maybe can develop him the way that they want him to. And plus, it doesn't really matter. You're losing this season anyway, so it doesn't hurt. So maybe they'd be willing to do something like that. Get a couple pieces, get a couple players. You get Josh Richardson for a second, maybe 2. And then that would still give you Lonnie Walker, Patrick Beverley, those kind of pieces. And then now you could go do the Boyan trade. Now you could go do, maybe a Cam Reddish deal. Again, maybe send Lonnie Walker for Cam Reddish, and then maybe do Patrick Beverley and, I don't know, Troy Brown or something and again, stack contracts to go get Boyan. I don't know. It really would open the door for several possibilities, which is what you want for the Lakers, right? So I think if you could get Josh Richardson for a second, I think you do it. Like, if that's really a deal that's on the table, I think you take that deal. I think Josh Richardson would be great. 6'6", got like a 7-foot wingspan, can play multiple positions, really help this team in many ways. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Would you trade, say, Patrick Beverley? Because that was the proposed deal, Patrick Beverley for Josh Richardson. I just wanted to kind of go over all the various options and ways that they could get there. But inherently, like, would you trade Patrick Beverley and a second for Josh Richardson? Is that something you would do? Do you think, no, I'd rather have Patrick Beverley? Would you rather say Patrick Beverley and try to do another deal? Again, it all kind of boils down to like what is actually out there and available. I think right now it's looking like Boyan is the most likely deal, but you never know. You never know how it's going to shape up. You never know how it's going to happen. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comment section below.